Well, good morning, Stephanie, or good afternoon, I think it is. Would you like to introduce yourself to start with and tell us a little about your professional background?
Okay, sure. So my name is Stephanie Wössner. I'm a high school teacher in Germany. I've been teaching for 6, 7 years now, and I am teaching mainly English and French as foreign languages.
Okay, so I heard a bird whisper that you also speak Japanese and you teach it as well?
Well, I do speak Japanese. I have a BA, and I did teach it as well, but only as a kind of club. So we needed to have students who were actually happy to stay in the afternoon, even though they had so many things to do.
Okay.
And since we're a really, really small school and we're from well, we live in the countryside, the students are not very interested in learning things that you can hardly learn anywhere.
Okay, I mean, out of curiosity, what made you study Japanese?
Well, I needed a challenge
Okay.
because I took a lot of English and French classes in high school. I graduated in English and French, and so I just needed to do something else besides studying to become a teacher. And so
Mm-hmm.
I got some information about what else you can teach, and that's at about the time when they started offering Japanese, Chinese, Russian at high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to get into the regular stuff, so Spanish or Italian. So I decided to do Japanese because in my American studies classes, I had heard about Asian Americans and particularly Japanese Americans. So I kind of got interested in that kind of studies.
That's very, very exciting, and I think you should use it in future as well. I mean, have you ever thought of teaching Japanese in virtual worlds?
Well, I have thought about it, but on the one hand, I don't have much time
Yeah.
hands right now. And also, I think I would need to get more acquainted with teaching in a foreign in a virtual world
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's not as easy as being in a classroom. Because I did teach Japanese to adults in
Mm-hmm.
a classroom before, but that's
Okay.
some time ago.
Okay. So you said you teach English and French, is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And what is your specific language focus and level you teach in?
Well, basically it's German high school, so grades 5 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
But I have usually students from grade 7 to 13, 12, 13. So
Mm-hmm.
that's their graduation.
Okay. And I know you have been involved in an interesting project, An Autre Monde or Another World or Eine andere Welt, for which you won a media award last year. As far as I know, this project is based on a virtual exchange, right?
Yes,
Could
it
you
is.
explore a little about that?
Okay, sure. I have a colleague in France, and we met at a teacher seminar at a conference in summer 2012, I think, 11 or 12. And we started talking about doing exchanges, and we're both very active in actual student exchanges. But then we also found out that we both had the feeling that a week in a different country is not enough, and that you need to have more time to collaborate with
Mm-hmm.
students from other countries. So since, I mean, we live close to the border, but it's still not necessary to go there for like, every month or every second week.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought about what we could do to enhance the communication between our students. And we both had already real exchanges, so it was out of the question combining a virtual exchange with a real exchange. And I had become interested in Second Life, well, a few months before that, and my colleague as well. And so we started talking about what we could do in order to integrate a virtual world into a student exchange. But we needed a frame for our
Mm-hmm.
exchange. So we also had the the feeling that our students have trouble speaking their foreign language because they have usually studied it for like 2 or 3 years. They are afraid of making mistakes, and it's very hard to start talking.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with this simulation scheme, which is very well known in French teaching, which means you create a framework and people take on different roles. So they would not act as themselves, which makes it possible for them to actually communicate with more ease and without having that thought in their minds that they might make mistakes and that they would be, laughed at.
Okay, and you set this up and then filmed it, or how did it work? I mean, um, did you take machinima of these events or meetings, or?
Well, actually, we have we have the problem that both our schools are not very well equipped. Our internet connection is not strong enough to do Second Life and to go really in world. Our computers are not very well, they're not very modern, let's put it that
Mm-hmm.
way. And we don't have money to invest. So what we did was we combined this fictional frame of a European village for young people, which was based in Second Life for us teachers. And we would actually communicate with our students who were not actively in Second Life, but who had created their own avatars outside Second Life. And we communicated with them through machinimas. So
Okay.
we would actually give them their tasks, so what they would need to do in a certain lesson through machinimas, and that helped them get into the illusion, because it's very hard for 14-year-old students to suddenly imagine themselves to be somebody else.
Okay. And they didn't have any problems to create their avatars or anything. I suppose they had fun doing it, right?
Well, they had a lot of fun doing it. I mean, they reinvented themselves starting from their names, so they needed to find French names because my students would be French nationals and my colleague students would be German, Austrian, or Swiss. So they needed to find their names, they needed to find an address through Google Maps, they needed to reinvent themselves by
Mm-hmm.
finding, a new family, a new set of hobbies, their characteristics and so on.
Okay. And have you used, this was just this project, right? And have you
Yes.
used 3D environments in other classes as well?
Well, I did use some machinimas that I found from colleagues who made machinimas. I think it was on conditional clauses.
Mm-hmm.
Apart
Mm-hmm.
from that, I haven't really had the chance because I didn't really find much that was that I could use for my students because they're really very young.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
didn't find a lot of machinimas about grammar, and grammar would be one of the main fields that I have to focus on.
mm-hmm. And you didn't feel confident enough to create your own
Well,
machinima, or?
confident, well, confident enough, yes, but I don't have time. I'm involved in so many projects usually that I just couldn't do it.
Okay, because we were in this Machinevo 2013 course together, and I mean, this resulted for me. This resulted in creating 150 machinimas since. So I was really hooked. But did you create a machinima? I don't recall.
Well, I
Uh,
did, yes. I was actually, that's when we started with our project. So I did
okay.
this little introduction on our project, on the frame of this, on this European village.
Mm-hmm,
And I presented the project through that. And then afterwards, I did some machinimas with my colleague, Chris from France. And,
mm-hmm,
but we only did the task-based stuff. And I think we had one episode where we wanted our students to see, what the life of their project managers would be like in their free time. So we
okay.
did a little, 2-minute video, I think, where we actually pretended that we were sitting on our balcony,
Mm-hmm.
and I was reading through Edmodo on my tablet, and I would see that the students communicated about their schools, and I would tell Chris about it and show it to him.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you just mentioned that you used other people's grammar, machinima. Did you find that challenging? I mean, using other people's uh, machinima, did you use the lesson plan with it, or did you create your own lesson plan for it?
Well, actually, I found the videos right after I had talked about conditionals in class.
Mm-hmm.
My students had a lot of trouble imagining, the difference between especially conditionals 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So what is probable, what is not probable. And I actually just gave it to them on my blog to revise the rules and to get a kind of understanding
Ah,
what the
okay.
difference was. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really use it in class because I didn't have the possibility back then.
Uh-huh. I mean, that brings me to the next question, and that is about technical issues. I mean, you said the equipment is not one of the most modern equipment at your school. So, what is the, what kind of technical issues did you and your students encounter when during this phase of your project?
Well, actually, since we didn't go into Second Life directly, but only had the machinimas, we didn't have that many problems because my colleague and I, we actually chose the tools that would work with a DSL connection that was not very, very good. And even then, we did have some connection problems. We
Mm-hmm.
got thrown out of certain tools, and our students couldn't connect all at the same time. But we basically always had a plan B.
Ah, very good. That's very
Well, we
important.
actually have plan B, C, and D usually because we want it to work and we don't want to focus on the technical issues
Yeah,
because otherwise our students will get frustrated.
that's very wise. Yeah. I mean, in this project, did your students also create little machinimas, or did they use photos, or how
No,
did they?
actually, this year, well, we're in the third year of the project, so we're always developing it. And I had the possibility of using tablets in class. So
Mm-hmm.
I found a little app that is called Buddy Poke
Mm-hmm.
that lets you create your own avatar. It it allows you to make videos where the avatar actually speaks. So we would use these comic avatars for the students, and we would use our Second Life avatars as teachers.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the
For that,
students love it, right?
well, yeah, they loved it, of course.
Yeah.
We had a few problems because well, that app is not really working very well on the tablets that we have. And also, my colleague doesn't have tablets, so his students created pictures that were accompanied by just audio recordings. So
Okay.
we actually do with what we have.
Okay. Well, I mean, you mentioned blogs you share with your students. What other kind of media or platforms do you use in your classes?
Well, for the projects that I'm doing, I usually use Edmodo because I'm sitting in southern Germany and they don't allow us to use Facebook, even though I would prefer Facebook because it is better for my project and students are actually there.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided to use instead Edmodo, which is safer because we control it, so there's no problem with, cyberbullying, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I also have a website for my students, so we publish pretty much everything that we do. Since we're working with the tablets, we have a lot of products from our
Mm-hmm.
classes, and I share them on the blog. And I also, well, we use, the tools, the regular tools that, when you use the internet in class, it's like Logster, Titan Pad. I have an own cloud where I can share material that is not, to be distributed. I pretty much use everything that is fun, that combines audio, video, and my students' work.
This really sounds fantastic. I would love to have you as a teacher, you know. Uh,
Well,
um,
ask my students. I'm pretty sure that half of them don't like me because I do
oh,
all that stuff because it means a lot of work.
hmm
It
hmm.
means they have to work more than they would actually have to work with other teachers.
Yeah, they can't be lazy. They have to engage themselves. Yeah, but
They do more work than I do.
yeah, but do you think that this results in better in a better learning outcome?
Yes, I think so because I started my tablet project at the beginning of the school year, so in
Mm-hmm.
September.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them how well do you know how to use your smartphones, and they were like, oh well, I know it perfectly well. I can do everything with it. And then as we went along, they realized that they didn't even know the potential of those
Mm-hmm.
devices, and they got to know a little, all those little tools that you can use for free. And they are, since they're sitting in little groups in my classroom,
Mm-hmm.
they can actually work together. And at the beginning, it was hard for them not to have a teacher standing in front of the classroom and telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they pretty much, they got used to it, and they're in little groups of 3, 4, sometimes 5 people, and they can share whatever they create on their tablets through the projector. So
Mm-hmm.
it's without any cables. It's a Wi-Fi connection.
Mm-hmm.
And, they got used to actually presenting even all the exercises that we're doing from our workbooks and everything. They present them to their classmates, and they will explain, and that really helps them become more independent.
Yeah, and they'll be grateful in a couple of years, I think, when they start studying at university.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I mean, you said you don't use machinima very often. Do you use video in the classroom?
Yeah, sometimes, of course, if I find what I need and what is appropriate for whatever we're talking about, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's very hard to find appropriate material for the grammar that we have to teach and for the vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I can show them, if we talk about New York, I can, of course, show them a video of New York or somebody talking about New York. But it would be way better if I had material that was more adapted to our workbooks, because we have books and we're supposed to use them. And I love those books because they're very interesting, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the material that you need to go along.
Okay. And
So
it's too time consuming to create your own material, right?
yes, well, I have to get to that
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
Still thinking about doing, I don't know, a tutorial or something, or machinimas that really help me explain grammar and vocabulary, because those are the two basic things that you do in English class still.
Mm-hmm.
And you need them to communicate. And even though you can do a lot of exercises on paper, the students will actually never really get what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, they can actually do the exercises, but when they have to use the grammar in a certain situation, it
Mm-hmm.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so machinima might be the answer for the future, right?
Well, I'm still looking for somebody who gives me a year off with full pay to actually create whatever I need for the next 10 years. But so far, I haven't found anybody.
Okay, let's try and search for somebody, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, I would even be interested in developing a whole island for students, for English students, French students, with activities and everything. That
Mm-hmm.
would be perfect, but it takes time. How
Mm-hmm. I
much it
know.
takes.
Yeah.
And I think, well, let's put it that way. In Germany, I feel like we're not yet really where we should be,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they tell us not to do many things. They don't understand how teaching has evolved and how it needs to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we're still basically teaching like 20 years ago, like 50 years ago, even maybe. And if I had the freedom that I would love to have, I think it would be a lot different.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, Stephanie, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, in terms of Second Life and virtual worlds, I think it would be very, very nice to integrate it in class, given the, internet connection and everything, because it helps you take our students outside the classroom and at the same time bring the world inside the classroom. So
Hmm.
we could actually do virtual field trips, meeting other people, so they would actually have to communicate in this foreign language in a more authentic situation than in a classroom. And you can visit like San Francisco, for example. You can go there and you can actually have them look around, and it would be experiencing the
Hmm.
language and the culture instead of just learning about them.
Hmm.
And I would love to do that, and I hope that someday this will be possible.
Hmm. Do you think that cultural issues could be conveyed via machinima, for example?
I think they could, yeah. If if you have a team of, let's say, international professionals,
Hmm.
actually make machinimas that are very realistic in terms of what they convey. In
Hmm.
terms of culture, it would definitely be of help, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think going inside a virtual world would be even better.
yeah. Yeah, again, I think that's your approach to have your students involved, get them involved and let them do the things
Yes,
and engage them with virtual worlds in order to understand them. Yeah.
exactly.
I think that tonight there's seminar on green screen or something, so that should be quite interesting on EduNation. So,
Okay.
every second week. But I don't want you to prevent you from your free Monday.
Oh no, 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 no. Actually, I don't have any free time. I just don't go to school, so
Okay,
I have a
okay.
lot of things to do still for tomorrow.
Okay. Well, thanks a million and talk to you soon. Bye for
Yes.
now.